Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Chevron Read. I'll be doing my reading vlog for March arcs. So I am starting this video really late into the month. I want to say this is the last weekend of March. I meant to start this video way in advance, but didn't happen. So yeah, I was actually debating about combining this with the April books, but then I just felt like the video would be really long, or if I had just done one of each, like one April book and one March book for my physical and the same for my ebook. But then I feel like there's a lot of March and April books out there and I want to read them all. So I decided to just keep them separate, and hopefully I will have them out really soon. I don't know, like I'm just gonna hope for the best, guys. But I do have one of each book picked out already. So for my physical book, I am going to be reading HAVENFALL by SARA HOLLAND. This one came out on March 3rd, so I'm actually really late on this game, but I still want to read this because this book just sounds so fascinating. From what I understand, this book is about a girl who is next in line to be the owner, I guess, of this inn, and this inn is somehow a safe haven for 4 different realms, and these 4 realms are somehow magical. I'm not sure how it is so far, but like that's all I remember. And then one day something happens and this safe haven is no longer safe when a body is found, and now she must go find out what really happened and discover all these secrets, and it just sounds really good. So this is definitely the first book that I will be reading as soon as possible. Then in terms of my ebook, so I have my laptop here. I only have 2 March books, to be honest, so these are the 2 that I'll be reading. The first one is going to be Lanterns in the Sky by P.S. MALCOM, and the second one is The Raven and the Dove by KAITLYN Davis. I think they're both young adult fantasy. I don't really know what they're about, so I'm just going to share the summary with you, or share the synopsis with you once I actually get to reading, so I can give you guys a better summary. So these are the 3 books plus a physical book that I haven't decided to pick out yet, but I'm going to pick that out when I actually finish the first book. So these are my reading plans for this reading vlog, and we'll see how this goes. Honestly, I'm a little bit worried because this is the second reading vlog that I am actually doing at the same time with another reading vlog, so I'm hoping I won't get too confused. But that is it in terms of a very quick update, just letting you guys know which books I'm reading, and next time I see you guys, hopefully I will have finished or would have gotten further along to one of the books. So just jumping in very quickly, because I have made a little bit of progress for HAVENFALL. Not too much though, because I'm only on page 69. But this book is going to be a little bit different because I'm actually buddy reading this. So every day we're trying to read 5 chapters. So I read basically the first 5 chapters, and later tonight I'm going to try to aim for the next 5 chapters. But honestly, I don't know that's going to happen because it's already almost midnight and I'm kind of tired and want to go to bed soon. But I want to just pop in very quickly and just let you guys know that I have started my first book, and I'm not sure if I like it so much. I feel like it's very predictable in terms of what everything is going on, and I can already guess some of the major plot points. So this book basically follows a girl who is trying to inherit an inn that is currently run by her uncle, and this inn is very special because it's basically a safe haven for humans as well as 2 other realms. So every summer, I think is what it is, they all come together and they have a delegation, they talk about peace treaties, etc, etc. And this book just starts off with her kind of introducing Haven, the 2 different realms, and kind of what her role is in all of this, as well as her dream and her goal in becoming the next innkeeper. And I don't know, I just feel like so far I'm not loving it. Like I feel like it's really interesting. Like I really like learning about the different realms. I feel like the author did a really good job with setting it up, but I think that's really it. So I don't know, so far I'm like okay about it. Like I'm not loving it, I'm not disliking it. I just do think that the book so far seems quite predictable, so I'm really hoping, fingers crossed, that I am wrong and there'll be a huge plot twist and there'll be things I just didn't see, etc. So that's kind of the impression. I feel like the girl that I'm buddy reading it with, we both agree with the same thing, so fingers crossed that that will not happen. Anyways, I will see you guys next time. Okay, so I just woke up and I meant to update you guys this last night, but it was super late and I was just really tired. But I did manage to finish reading HAVENFALL by SARA HOLLAND. This one, I'm going to give this book a 3-star. I think that's what I've decided on. I feel like there are elements of this book that I was able to predict very early on and they were true, but then there were also a lot of elements to this book that I didn't see coming, but that's not because they were plot twists or anything like that. I feel like in a way the summary or like the synopsis of this book was very different than what this book actually was. Like the general gist is the same, but there were just things about it that I just felt like was not what I was reading, or like what it wasn't what I was expecting to read when I opened this book. But the girl that I'm buddy reading with also said the same thing, so like it seems to be at least a consensus between the two of us. So yeah, that's just like how I felt about this book. It wasn't a bad book or anything like that, it just wasn't what I expected. I think my favorite part about this book was actually the worlds and the different realms and the magic system that came with each realm. I thought that was super fascinating to find out like which each realm, like their magic system and the world, etc. Like I felt like that was super fascinating. But at the same time, I feel like the world building for those realms was only given in the beginning of this entire book. Like throughout the rest of the book, I feel like it was just like snippets here and there. But because this book mostly takes place in the human world, which is, you know, our world, the world building for the other realms seemed to be at a standstill for the most part. But that being said though, it was still pretty fascinating to find out little snippets here and there. Another interesting thing about this book was that there was no romance involved. I feel like I obviously expected it. There seemed to be a romance in the first few chapters, but within like by the time you get to like chapter 6, which is still very early on in the book, like the romance just kind of dissipates and you're just like, okay. And in a way I like it because a lot of young adult books have a lot of romance in it, and I feel like this one had like a hint but like not an actual romance, if that makes any sense. But yeah, anyways, that is it in terms of my summary or my thoughts about this book. It was just different than what I expected. Also, by the way, this is actually a series. For some reason I didn't know it was a series. I thought it was a standalone. I feel like I should stop saying that because I'm always wrong. They're usually not standalones, but I feel like when they market the first book, it's marketed as a standalone, or like that's the assumption that a lot of people have, including myself. And so I went in with it thinking it's gonna be a standalone, and I got to like the last like 30 pages and I was like, this doesn't feel like it's going to be ending anytime soon. And I look on Goodreads and there is actually a sequel to it, so I should just look on Goodreads before I even say anything. But there is a sequel, and the ending definitely ends at a point where you're just like, what is going to happen next? So I haven't decided if I'm committed enough with the series to continue, but at the same time I am intrigued to find out, because the ending is just a kind of a huge cliffhanger. There's just so much stuff that you find out in the last few chapters that you're just like, so this is what's going on, like, oh my god, like I didn't see this coming. And like there's just all these, anyways, that's all I'm gonna say for this book, guys. I'm gonna go and try to pick up my ebook now. It's one of the two I'm gonna pick up. I haven't decided which one yet exactly, but once I do, I'll get to reading and then I'll update you guys later. Hey guys, so I just want to give us a really quick update in terms of my reading. So I am currently reading this book over here. It is The Raven and the Dove, and I'm now currently on 40%, which I'm really liking. This book is so freaking good. So this book is a young adult fantasy, and it follows a girl called Liana, who is a princess of the House of Peace, and her people, the Peace people, are doves. So basically what that means is that all their wings are dove related. So they have like ivory wings, speckled wings, etc, etc. And then there are many different houses, and each different house houses different types of birds. For example, there is a house of wisdom, which are owls. Then there is the house of prey, which are, I'm assuming, like hawks or something like that. And then there is the house of flight, which are hummingbirds, etc, etc. And so right now what's happening is that there's some sort of ceremony going on, and basically everyone is supposed to mate, and she is supposed to mate with someone, a crown prince, and she doesn't know who it is. There are a few different options, and what happens after that is that she has to go live at their land, and she becomes not a dove anymore, but whatever bird they are. So it's kind of interesting. Even though like she still has the dove wings, she would no longer be considered as a dove. And then on the other hand, we follow a guy who is Rafe, and Rafe is interesting. He is a raven, and he's actually kind of a brother in a way, but like technically like a bastard for the royal family. And the issue right now is that Xander, who is the actual crown prince, cannot really participate in the ceremony because he's supposed to go and find his mate along with all the other princesses and princes. Unfortunately for him though, he has a deformity, so he has asked Rafe to stand in for him, and they look very similar except for the obvious fact that one has a deformity and the other one doesn't have a deformity. So Rafe right now is in Xander's place, pretending pretending to be him, going through the ceremony, except for the fact that right before the ceremony started, there was a dragon who appeared, and Rafe was injured during that time period, and Lyanna actually goes, because of circumstances, she saves him from this dragon. And what she doesn't understand is that Rafe is standing in for his brother. She believes that he is actually the crown prince, and of course they meet at the ceremony and things happen from there, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. I mean, like, more things happen obviously, and on the other hand there's also the land below, which are humans, I believe, and there is a prince on the land below who believes that Lyanna is supposed to be the person who will save his country, his kingdom, etc. That part I'm not really so sure about. I just know because there's only been a few scenes here and there about that, so I don't really know how that's going to play throughout the entire thing, and why he is so adamant in believing that Lyanna is the one to save his kingdom, etc. because none of that has really been explained, but it's on the synopsis, so I'm assuming like that will appear at some point. But so far I'm really enjoying this book. It's so fascinating. Like, I am like really engrossed with the characters, the plot. Like, I just want to know more about the types of people they have there, and kind of like understanding where these winged people came from, because they have this whole backstory, this like creation story about how they were saved from the people below, from magic, and then their gods brought them up. So they also live, because they're winged people, they live on these lands that are actually like thousands of feet above the actual earth, I guess. I want to say like tens of thousands of feet. So because of that, they're really different. They're very separated from the people below. They don't even know if there's anyone down there anymore. So there's like this really interesting like creation story involved. There's a lot of like different gods in here, and kind of the battle between different gods, and of course there's this whole ceremony going on and trying to find the mate. It's just a really good time, and I'm really enjoying it. It's just like a lot of things going on, but I'm really liking the characters as well. There's like, I don't know, so far I really like Rafe. I think he is a really interesting character, and Lyanna, like, obviously has her own like princessy snobbiness to her, but at the same time like it is represented well, I guess, in terms of her status. But yeah, so anyway, I'm really enjoying the book, and I just want to pop in and let you guys know that I'm really liking it. And yeah, I'm gonna go back and read while I eat some lunch, very late lunch, and I'll check back in later. All right, excuse the messy hair, but I do have some updates for you guys in terms of my reading. So I did manage to finish my first Kindle, and all I can say is that I actually really enjoyed this book. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. It was not quite yet a 5-star read though, just because I feel like the characters were not fully developed. I felt like the main character, also by the way, please ignore my sister in the background. She is in another room. She's like chatting, so yeah, just ignore her. I do think that the main character, Lyanna, is just not as fleshed out and developed as I would have liked her to be. I feel like she was very 1D in terms of her personality and her character. I actually think that Cassie, her best friend, had a lot more depth to her character, and just everything about her just seemed much more fascinating. There were a lot more facets to her personality. Even Rafe was also a really great character, but Lyanna, like the main character, just felt very lackluster to me, and so I feel like as a main character she should be the most developed, and she wasn't. And then the other part was the plot. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of stuff going on. It was very fast-paced, very action-packed, but I feel like at the same time it was a little bit too rushed. I feel like the book was not well paced in that sense. For example, the whole part about the prophecy and how Lyanna is supposed to be the chosen one, or like the chosen princess or whatever, to save the people on the below, whatever, that part was just not really mentioned for a very long time. It was only in the prologue, and then by the time I got to like halfway through the book, it showed up once. And even then, all the scenes I had, which was not many by the way, like maybe 4 or 5 scenes, was all very vague, and I was just like, I still don't really understand what is going on. So for a part that was like half of the book, or like supposedly half of the book, or half of the plot essentially, just didn't really feel like it was a major part. It just didn't really feel like it was explained very well. I also felt like the trials, which was the big plot at the beginning with the whole mating ceremony and everything, just felt very rushed. I feel like the trials was just like 1 chapter and like that was done, and I was like, okay. So that was basically it in terms of the book. I mean, it was really interesting, like I really enjoyed it, but it just wasn't a 5-star read. I felt like end of the day this was just a very entertaining read. I really did like the magical element though, in terms of the birds flying and kind of like the magical healing aspects of this book, but that was really it. But I still really enjoyed it, so I still want to give this book 4 stars. It was a very enjoyable read. So moving on to my next read, I decided to go completely off course here and pick up this one, which is If I Never Met You by MCFARLANE. This one came out sometime in March, so technically I'm late because it's right now, it is April 7th or something. All I know is that this book is a rom-com. It's supposed to follow a fake dating trope, which is honestly one of my favorites. I think fake dating and enemies to lovers are just my favorite 2 tropes. So I'm super excited for this one. It just seems like such a fun read, and I already started it, but I'm only on page 20 so far, so not much progress has been made there. So I will update you guys later as I read a little bit more, but I'm pretty excited about this fun romancy type of book right now. Hey, good morning guys. So I just wanted to pop in here very quickly, I don't know what that noise was, to give you guys a very quick update. So I have managed to read a little bit more. I'm currently on page 77, and I don't know, I feel like it's not as cute as I would have liked. I feel like the main girl is very dramatic and a lot of her reactions are a little bit over exaggerated in a way. I don't know, like I feel like sometimes I'm like, okay, I relate with that, I understand like what you're thinking and why you're thinking this, but at the same time I feel like there's also a part of me that's like, I feel like you're just being extra right now and just being dramatic. So I don't know, maybe it's just me being like super cynical about the whole situation, but I don't know, like so far I feel like nothing has really happened. I feel like she just broke up with her boyfriend. It's been 2.5 months or something like that, but yeah, so nothing really has happened so far. She just found out that he impregnated this girl of his, and it's been only 2.5 months, so she's obviously feeling very hurt, and nothing has happened in terms of her trying to fake date the other guy yet. So I'm really hoping that happens soon, because so far it's just like, it's okay, like it's not the cutest book, and I'm not the biggest fan of the writing. I feel like purely because of the randomness of the caps, and it's just like, it just makes things so extra, to be honest. But then I also did pick up this book, my second ebook, and this will be my last book of this reading vlog, and this one is called Lanterns in the Sky. So far I am not loving this book either. I actually contemplated DNFing it, but I'm only 13% of the way through, so I do want to give it a little bit more before I decide if I want to continue or not. But I just feel like this book is also similar with this one in the sense that this one doesn't do caps, but it would just randomly italicize words that just doesn't really make much sense. So I feel like because of that, I also feel like the main character is just so extra as well, and I'm just like, I don't know why you have the need, or you feel like there's a need to italicize random words and like putting emphasis on these words for no reason. But other than that though, in terms of the plot, I feel like I'm super confused with what's going on. I like had no idea what's going on. I had to go back and actually read the synopsis because I was just like, I have no clue, and I like don't understand the characters, I don't understand what's going on. So I read the synopsis and it makes a little bit more sense, but nothing has happened yet. I feel like right now all that happened is that she got hit in the head by something, not sure what, apparently it's a star, and now she's somehow caught up with this guy who apparently is the mysterious guy in her best friend's life, and that's it. Like they're currently at a party and nothing has happened so far, so it's very dull. So I don't know if I want to continue, but I will try to read a little bit more and then I'll decide. But there is a possible chance that I will end up DNFing this book because this book is just so, I don't know, like you guys didn't see it, but I just tossed that book away. So anyways, that is it in terms of my update. It's not the greatest update because I had such high hopes and I had such a fun time reading the past 2 books, but unfortunately doesn't always happen, guys. So anyways, that is it in terms of update, and I will check back in later, hopefully by the time I finish one of these books, or like hopefully by the time I finish this one, or after I decided what I'm going to do with this one, like if I'm going to DNF it or continue. Anyways, I'll check back in later. Hey guys, so I'm just going to end this vlog very quickly here because it's actually been a few days since I last updated you guys, and I did manage to finish my next book, which is If I Never Met You by MCFARLANE. This book I ended up giving 3 stars. I feel like the beginning was a lot of build-up that was very draggy. I feel like it was super unnecessary, and I feel like some of Lori's reaction was extra. I mean, I kind of get where she's coming from, but also I feel like the way how the author portrayed it, it just made it too long for me. And the fake dating aspect didn't even happen until after 100 pages. So the first 100 pages of her were just her kind of like figuring out what happened, you know, what's the reasoning, and then they didn't even start fake dating until 3 months after they broke up. So there's a lot of build up to this book that I feel like was not very necessary, and it just felt super draggy. But once the fake dating part started to show up and Jamie was like super cute, so I became much more invested in the story, and by that point I was able to fly through it. The beginning definitely took me a while to get through. But that is it in terms of this book. Then the next book that I picked up is Lanterns in the Sky by P.S. Malcolm. This one, unfortunately, will be my first DNF of this entire reading vlog series because I did not like this book. I got to 25% of the way through, so I've made a decent chunk in, but I just feel like the characters in this book, the plot, everything about the book, like the writing, just felt very immature and childish. There were just a lot of scenes in this book that just made no sense to me in terms of the delivery. And not only that, but the main character herself, I just feel like she is just so extra in some ways with her reactions to things, and I feel like I don't get it. Like, I really don't get it. So I unfortunately decided to DNF it and just could not give this book any more of my time. So that is it in terms of this reading vlog. Let's just do a very quick wrap up. So the first book that I read is HAVENFALL by SARA HOLLAND. This book I gave 4 stars. I think I really liked it. Yeah, I feel like my impression of this was very positive, so I'm gonna give this book 4 stars. It's been a while, to be honest, so yeah. And then the next book that I read was A Raven and the Dove, which I also really enjoyed. I gave that book 4 stars as well. I am actually pretty intrigued right now to continue the series, so there's a very good chance that I'll pick up the sequel. Then the third book that I finished is If I Never Met You by MCFARLANE. This one I gave 3 stars. And the last book that I picked up but didn't finish is Lanterns in the Sky. But anyways, that is it in terms of my reading vlog. It's super late, but let me know down below if you have read any of the books that I picked up this time around, if there were any March books that came out that you picked up and really enjoyed. Do you have any recommendations? Let me know down below. But as always, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe down below, don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.